Are spirits just energy? I say there's something more. Why? Let's explore it right now on What the Fetch. Hey weirdos, I'm Grant. I hear it time and time again. Spirits are just energy. And I blindly thought the same thing until on one case, a long time ago, we caught this EVP.
You need to understand that first off, everything's energy. Energy's just balls of light. That's just like you and me without a body. Just energy.
Not just energy. Clearly, someone somewhere else felt very differently. And regardless of whether this was a spirit or not, it got me thinking, does the idea of spirits being just energy even make sense? There were also a couple of times where another investigator and I were able to see a full body apparition, and I was able to take a picture of it. Now, while the other investigator and myself saw the exact same thing, the camera only captured a fine mist. Why did we see the exact same thing with the exact same details, but the camera only caught mist? Clearly, light bounced off something physical into the lens of the camera, but it wasn't the same thing that we saw. Curious. Now, for some reason, we have evolved the term energy into a concept that oftentimes makes no sense. We talk about people having good or bad energy. We promise positive energy to people in need on the internet. We fantasize about energy weapons. And we even talk about beings made up of pure energy. But that's not how energy works. Quite simply, energy is technically the ability to do work. It's a quality an object has when it's moving, or when it has the potential to move. Basically, the exact opposite of Dead Uncle Fred. You see, energy is not a physical thing. It's not a tangible object. It's more of a concept, a number, a mathematical relationship. Things aren't energy. Things have energy. It's a quality an object has, not an object itself. It's like saying, I'm hungry. You haven't transformed into an object called hungry. Hunger is a quality you have, not something you can hold in your hand. And because it's a quality of an object, if there is no object, there is no energy. I mean, even light needs photons to exist. Now, some will say, of course, that matter is equal to energy, and they are right, although usually they misrepresent how. For example, a delicious helping of tater tots is packed full of potential chemical energy, which is released when we digest those tots. But they're also full of potential nuclear energy contained within the bonds in their atoms, which we could tap into if our stomachs could perform nuclear fission. And the tots also contain potential gravitational energy due to Earth's gravity, which comes in handy when it's time to dip them in ketchup. So because the tots are riddled with various types of potential energy, they can be quantified by their energy potential, but that doesn't mean that they're composed of energy. It's like saying I have the potential to sing a song, therefore I am composed of song, which sounds nice, but clearly isn't the case. Now, another phrase I hear all the time in the paranormal field to justify the afterlife is energy cannot be created or destroyed. So, when we die, where does that energy go? It has to go somewhere. Well, there's a huge misunderstanding here. There's a bit more to this phrase that always seems to get left out. It really goes, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. So, when people say this, what energy exactly are we assuming has to go somewhere? Are we referring to that electrical energy that allows us to move and think, learn and grow, and do all those things that define us as an individual personality? Well, that all came from releasing the potential chemical energy in the tots we digested and transforming it into electrical energy to stimulate our bodies. Now, when we die, that whole process shuts down. We are no longer able to change that potential chemical energy within the tots into electrical energy anymore. So that potential energy stays within the tots, and the electrical plant within us is shut down. But our bodies themselves are full of their own potential energy, and all that potential energy we had is still there. It isn't destroyed when we die. Our death is not the potential energy's death. Now, when we die, we're typically buried, and therefore, our potential chemical and nuclear energy is now digested by the earth, so to speak, just like we did with the tots. It's now part of the earth, and our physical selves are no more. I know, it's sad. Now, because when we die, we are no longer able to generate that electrical energy that allowed us to move and think, learn and grow, and do all the things that define us as an individual personality, does that now mean that we are done for good? Lights out forever? Possibly. But if we assume that we continue to exist after we die, if there is some sort of energy process that defines us as a personality, there would need to be an object for that energy to be transferred to when we die. Remember, energy is a quality an object has, not an object itself. You see, a spirit couldn't be pure energy. Energy just doesn't work that way. So what if inside us, there amongst the atoms that compose us, was a much finer substance? Something so fine that we're unable to detect and measure it yet. Something that remains while our bodies decompose. I propose that if there are spirits, they would most likely have to be made up of something more than just energy. There would have to be some type of matter to collect, contain, and use energy. Something so fine that it would be imperceptible to us. Able to pass through solid matter easily, yet also able to gather, to congeal enough to interact with solid matter and manipulate it. Was it this spirit matter that I was able to photograph in the story I related at the beginning of this video? Was it congealed enough as a full-bodied apparition to reflect the flash back into the camera lens? Now, if a spirit is made up of extremely fine matter, one could assume that it must have a certain weight to it, no matter how infinitesimally small it might be. Back in 1907, Dr. McDougall tried to test this theory and claimed that the body lost a small amount of weight at the moment of death. This of course led to that urban legend of the body losing 21 grams upon death. But upon closer analysis, we learned that Dr. McDougall's methods were flawed, and his test group was much too small, consisting of only 6 test subjects, 2 of which had to have the results discarded. So we don't really know for sure if the matter that might make up a spirit has any weight at all. And I certainly don't want to be the guy weighing dying people to find out. Now, on the other hand, as mentioned before, light needs photons to exist. But photons have no mass, and therefore no weight. So maybe spirit matter is made up of something massless like photons, or maybe even photons themselves. Now, if that's the case, while our spirits wouldn't be made up of just energy, they could technically be made of light. And isn't that a poetic thought? But hey, what do you think? Have you had any experiences that support this theory? Are you a physicist that thinks this theory is all garbage? Leave a constructive comment down below and let me know. And please support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Stay weird.